Utenga wopita kwa alimi pamene zochuluka. Kukolola zochuluka kuli ndi kuthekera kochepetsa njala pa banja ndi mdziko muno. Utengawo akupatsirani ndi Aspro Data mogwirizana ndi Luntha TV ndi thandizo la ndalama kuchokera ku NCADCA Malawi. Maga ndi bungwe la anthu odzipereka ofuna kutukula miyoyo ya atsikana ndi amayi achichepere m'Malawi. Iwo agwira ntchitoyi kwa zaka zoposera makumi awiri.
Kodi anthu amene achitidwa nkhanza zosiyanasiyana
ndi thandizo la chuma kuchokera ku NCADCA Malawi, bungwe la Maga likuthetsa nkhanza kwa amayi ndi atsikana m'maboma adowa ndi ntchisi.
Koma titafika kudzera mu uphungu wa Maga tidapeza kuti zikhalidwe zina zimapangitsanso kuti mayi akhale mopanikizika.
Kwati nkukula m'boma la Dowa, nkhani za nkhanza kwa amayi ndi atsikana zikuchepa chifukwa cha kubwera kwa Maga mothandizidwa ndi NCADCA Malawi.
Ineyo ndi Maga tinadziwana ndikathawi kwambiri
ngati njira imodzi yolimbikitsira atsikana kuti akhale olimba mnyengo zonse. Maga ikuphunzitsa atsikana kukonza okha zodzisamalirira pamene ali pa msambo.
Kukiamu kwa tamali kusisa zinthu zake ele kusoka mabadi yamatithandiza monga ipatsikana ndikamapanga nthawi ya sambo. Mabadi yake like this, like what guys? Like this! Like what? Like this!
Mayi mphatso balu.
Glad you could join us for our news bulletin. My name is Fales Jizombe. The top stories. Pope Leo XIV calls for disarming peace grounded in gospel non-violence. Government intensifies efforts to restore connectivity on M1 and M5 roads after washaways. Central West Region Police report 6% rise in murder cases despite overall crime drop. And in other news, Guinea coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya wins presidential election. We have more stories coming up. Do stay with us. As the Church prepares to mark the World Day of Peace on 1st January, Pope Leo XIV's first message for the World Day of Peace offers a strong and compassionate appeal to the global community to rediscover the power of peace rooted in the Gospel. Centered on the theme of unarmed and disarming peace, the Pope invites believers and all people of goodwill to move beyond reliance on weapons and fear. Instead, he proposes a vision grounded in human dignity, dialogue, and the active practice of nonviolence in daily life. We have a Vatican News report read by Charity Chilanga.
Reflecting on the document, Mali Dennis, director of Pax Christ Catholic Institute for Nonviolence, notes that the Pope's words highlight peace as a dynamic, demanding vocation rather than distant ideal. She stresses that Pope Leo XIV's focus on gospel nonviolence places the Church firmly alongside those who seek justice without resorting to violence. This approach, she says, calls Christians to witness through disarming hearts, building trust and healing relationships scarred by division. The Pope's message arrives amid escalating conflicts, widespread insecurity and a climate of fear affecting entire populations. He warns that violence always leaves deep wounds and generates further fragmentation. For this reason, he urges the international community to invest in peacemaking, education and constructive dialogue, insisting that true peace cannot be achieved through armed races or the logic of retaliation, but through encounter, compassion and respect for the common good. Dennis emphasizes that the vision outlined by Pope Leo XIV is already being lived in many parts of the world. Numerous communities, often in difficult and dangerous contexts, are practicing gospel non-violence in concrete ways through reconciliation initiatives, protection of the vulnerable, and peaceful resistance to injustice. Their witness demonstrates that an armed peace is not weakness, but strength, capable of transforming societies from within. The Pope's message calls the faithful to cultivate a peace that is unarmed, disarming, humble, and persevering, shaped by patience and sustained by hope. In inviting the world to walk this path of nonviolence, Pope Leo XIV points toward a future where fear gives way to fraternity and where the light of the gospel continues to guide humanity toward reconciliation and unity.
Catholic youth across Malawi have been urged to take an active role in protecting the environment by planting trees and caring for nature. National Youth Chaplain Reverend Father Patrick Kamba made the call as part of a 100-day campaign aimed at promoting environmental stewardship and addressing the impacts of climate change. Emmanuel Chocha reports.
Father Kamba said caring for the environment is the responsibility of every human being, encouraging young people to take the lead in safeguarding creation for the present and future generation. He emphasized that the campaign draws inspiration from the late Pope Francis' encyclical Laudato Si, which calls on Christians to care for the nature as part of their faith. He added that parishes have been tasked to mobilize tree seedlings, identifying suitable planting sites, and submit progress report to ensure accountability and sustainability.
By planting trees, the youth are not only, responding to environmental challenges, but also living, their faith in action. They're becoming true stewards of creation and, pilgrims of hope. And now, secondly, on the issue to do with the, how long is this campaign? The campaign runs for 100 days, symbolizing, a sustained commitment rather than a one-day event. So this period allows us to mobilize more people, raise awareness and ensure that, the trees are planted and also are nurtured to grow well. On how many trees are we expecting to plant during this campaign? Our target is to plant as many trees as we can, thousands of trees across Malawi.
The initiative is being led by the Catholic Youth Council of Malawi under the guidance of the Malawi Conference of Catholic Bishops, MCCB. The campaign calls on all diocese youth offices and movements, including Young Christian Workers YCW, Young Christian Students YCS, Catholic Scouts, and national movements of Catholic students to actively participate. For Luntha News, in Lilongwe, this is Emmanuel Chuocha.
Government has intensified efforts to restore connectivity on the M1 and M5 roads following recent washaways that disrupted traffic flow and economic activities in parts of the country. Minister of Transport and Public Works Feston Kaupa says contractor Move Angel, which is working on the Mpasadzi Bridge along the M1 road in Kasungu district, is expected to complete construction of a temporary passage as soon as possible. Charite Chilanga with the details.
In an interview, Kaupa commended Motor Angel, CR20 and China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation, who are already engaged on contracts along the affected roads, for responding swiftly to government's call to commence emergency works. He said the government remains deeply concerned about the impact of the washaways on social and economic activities, adding that restoring road connectivity remains a top priority. Kaupa pledged to continue monitoring the situation and has assured the public that all necessary measures are being taken to restore safe and reliable road access as quickly as possible.
Now we are just appreciative to Motor Angel for being responsive to our requirement, our request to them so that they can come on site, because they could have said this is a different contract altogether, But those are the discussions that we've engaged Motor NGO in, that appreciating that this is a different contract altogether, that has come. As you might be aware, that every contract does have a clause that they call a force majeure, or forces of nature. So it means the variation that will come on this contract is because of forces of nature. And when we get back to discuss further with Motor NGO, we should be able to reach to a compromise for them to understand that these are forces of nature, as well as for us to also as government to understand that Motor NGO has just been engaged to make sure that business is not disrupted.
Meanwhile, Senior Chief Mpoma of Kasungu has praised the government for its timely response to the current situation, saying the washaways have negatively affected communities and road users. Assessments conducted by Roads Authority engineers indicated that the affected infrastructure includes Mpasadze Bridge and Kamenya Bridge on the M1 road, as well as Dwanga, Kaombe, Lingona and Njandilo bridges on the M5 road, and Baudi Trading Center on the Nkota Kasungu road.
You are still watching news on Luntha television with me, Fales Chizombe. Another look at our top stories before we proceed. Pope Leo XIV calls for disarming peace grounded in gospel non-violence. Government intensifies efforts to restore connectivity on M1 and M5 roads after washaways. Central West Region Police report 6% rise in murder cases despite overall crime drop. And in other news, Guinea coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya wins presidential election. Moving forward, Central West Region Police have reported a rise in murder cases from 256 in 2024 to 272 in 2025, representing a 6% increase. Deputy Commissioner of Police Mavuro Mbobo reviewed this during the Legion's office Christmas and New Year celebration at PA Convention Center in Lilongwe on Tuesday. According to Mbobo, out of these cases, 35 involved mob justice. Tandem Zumara has filed this report.
Mbobo attributed the surge to poor policing, corruption and systemic flaws in the country's criminal justice system, urging officers to improve crime scene response and collaborate with relevant stakeholders to expedite prosecutions. While murders increased, overall crime in the region declined by 15% from 11,846 cases in 2024 to 10,058 in 2025. Road accidents, however, saw more lives lost despite a decrease in incidents from 1,417 to 1,298. The Deputy Commissioner also expressed concern over vandalism of ESCOM equipment and corruption within the service, warning officers to prioritize integrity, professionalism and discipline.
The perception of the public towards us police officers, they take us as if we are corrupt, but we are not. We are not corrupt. We are doing our work professionally. We don't engage ourselves in any corrupt activity.
Bite Mbobo. Mbobo has since urged police officers to uphold integrity and professionalism, warning that corruption undermines public confidence. He has also thanked stakeholders for their continued support and reaffirmed the Central West Region's commitment to effective, ethical and people-centered policing in 2026. For Luntha News, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
The year 2025 has been described as a mixed bag for the welfare and rights of people with disabilities in Malawi, with stakeholders applauding major legislative progress, but raising concern over persistent challenges in implementation, funding and protection of vulnerable groups such as people living with albinism. Malawi Council of Disability Affairs Makoda Public Relations Officer Harriet Kashimanga says though the Persons with Disabilities Act of 2024 and the National Disability Policy of 2025 are major milestones, limited financial and human resources have hindered effective implementation. We have more in this report filed by Gift Kalonga.
Makoda spokesperson Harriet Kachimanga said 2025 has been a mixed bag for the welfare and the rights of people with disabilities in Malawi, noting that the year recorded both notable progress and serious challenges. She highlighted that the implementation of the Persons with Disability Act of 2024 and the approval of the National Disability Policy of 2025 are major achievements, describing them as progressive legal frameworks that have the potential to strengthen the protection and promotion of the rights of persons with disabilities. However, Kachimang observed that limited financial and human resources coupled with weak implementation plans have hindered the full realization of the policies, adding that most disability organizations and stakeholders struggle to execute planned initiatives due to inadequate funding and support.
However, we have seen challenges, particularly when it comes to the implementation of the policies, the laws, and also any other plans and initiatives that were put in place. Most of the organizations of persons with disabilities, most of the stakeholders do not have adequate funding. There is limited resources allocated in the protection and promotion of the rights of persons with disabilities. So it has been difficult to implement what was planned in the year 2025.
Echoing Makoda, human rights activist Michael Kayaza said 2025 has been a mixed bag in the promotion of the welfare and rights of people with disability, noting that while some progress have been made, several gaps remain in implementation. He said that the enactment of Disability Act and the operationalization of the Disability Fund are positive steps, but stressed that weak enforcement and continued attacks against people with albinism remain major concerns that need urgent attention.
However, implementation has been a big challenge, especially ensuring that the act is translated into practice. Yes, there are certain things that the government did. For example, operationalizing the disability fund. I think that is a good step. But now making sure that that fund is trickled down to people with disabilities. I think there have been challenges. And then we also look at the rights of people with albinism. We have also seen that in this year it has been a challenge because this is the year that we have seen attacks against persons with albinism resurfacing.
Meanwhile, both Makoda and a human rights activist have called for a new approach to addressing the challenges faced by people with disabilities as the country transitions into 2026. For Luntha News, this is Gift Kalonga.
News from elsewhere. A Guinea coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya has been elected president, according to provisional results following the country's first election since a military takeover in 2021. The results announced on Tuesday showed Doumbouya winning 86.72% of the vote, held on December 28th, an absolute majority that allows him to avoid a runoff. The Supreme Court has 8 days to validate the results in the event of a challenge. We have an Al Jazeera news report read by Tandiwe Zumara.
The election was widely seen as a means to legitimize Doumbouya's stay in power. It is also the culmination of a transition process that began 4 years ago after Doumbouya ousted President Alpha Conde, who had been in office since 2010. The coup leader has since clamped down on opposition and dissent, critics say, leaving him with no major opponents among the 8 other candidates who were in the race. Both Conde and long-time opposition leader Selo Delaine Diallo live in exile. The lesser-known Yerobot, a former education minister in Conde's government, came a distant second with 6.51% of the votes. The General Director of Elections said that 80.95% of the 6.7 million people registered had voted in the poll. After seizing power, Doumbouya had said that he and other military officers would not run in elections. However, a referendum in September allowed officers to run and extended the presidential term from 5 to 7 years. Guinea is home to the world's largest reserves of bauxite and holds one of the biggest untapped iron ore deposits at Simandou, a project officially launched last month after years of delays. Doumbouya has pointed to progress on the mine as evidence of his leadership, saying his government has ensured the country will benefit more directly from its resources. His administration has also moved towards greater state control of the mining sector, revoking the license of Emirates' global aluminium subsidiary, Guinea Alumina Corporation, following a dispute over refinery development and transferring its assets to a state-owned company. Political activity in Guinea has remained tightly controlled under Doumbouya's political activity in Guinea has remained tightly controlled under Doumbouya's leadership. Civil society groups accuse the authorities of banning demonstrations, limiting press freedom, and restricting opposition organizing. On Monday, opposition candidate Faya Lansana Milimono told a news conference that the vote was affected by systematic fraudulent practices and said that observers were prevented from monitoring both voting and ballot counting. The government did not comment on the allegations.
That item concludes our today's news bulletin. Another look at our top stories before we go. Pope Leo XIV calls for disarming peace grounded in gospel non-violence. Government intensifies efforts to restore connectivity on M1 and M5 roads after washaways. Central West Region Police report 6% rise in murder cases despite overall crime drop. And in other news, Guinea coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya wins presidential election. I've been Fales Chizombe. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to tune in for the list of the programs here on Luntha Television. Stay safe and Happy New Year in advance.
Wajimu ndi mkulu wa bungwe la MAGA. MAGA ndi bungwe la anthu odzipereka ofuna kutukula miyoyo ya atsikana ndi amayi achichepere m'Malawi. Iwo agwira ntchitoyi kwa zaka zoposera makumi awiri.
Kodi anthu amene achitidwa nkhanza zosiyanasiyana
ndi thandizo la chuma kuchokera ku NCA-DCA Malawi, bungwe la MAGA likuthetsa nkhanza kwa amayi ndi atsikana m'maboma adowa ndi ntchisi.
Koma titafika kudzera mu uphungu wa MAGA tidapeza kuti zikhalidwe zina zimapangisanso kuti mayi akhale mopanikizika.
Kwati nkukula m'boma la dowa nkhani za nkhanza kwa amayi ndi atsikana zikuchepa chifukwa cha kubwera kwa MAGA